All right, still with me. Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor David Bruno and litigation trial attorney Rich Schoenstein. And Rich, this is a case that captivated the nation. I mean, the mom, Beth Holloway, she had her own TV show. I mean, this was something that everyone was concerned about. Lots of ups and downs, finger pointed right at Sloot. Could not prove it. He ended up doing something very similar a few years later, as we mentioned, in Peru. My question for you is, this is a perfect example of when the authorities can't go in the front door, they get you in the back door. And this is exactly what's happening here, and still, it could provide some justice for the family.
Yeah, whenever I see a development like this, and, this is a 2005 disappearance, and here we are 18 years later, and I think about all the people that are diligently working this case, trying to amass evidence, trying to make the connections, and then on top of that, you have people who are trying to arrange for the extradition, is that right, of the suspect. Which is a very involved process. As you said, Michael, you got to go through a treaty to get it done. It's just a lot of people dedicated to trying to get justice here. And I give them all credit for this, for their dogged pursuit of this, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And David, as Rich mentioned, this is an extraordinary process. It's an extraordinary treaty. The idea that he could be in jail serving a 28-year sentence in Peru. This treaty allows for him to be extradited, taken out of jail, brought to the States, and remain in custody, obviously, face the charges here, then go back and serve, and then come back here and serve whatever sentence he may or may not get here in the States based on this case. Just extraordinary.
It is extraordinary, and it's also just a very sad chapter in this story here, that this family has yet to be victimized again. Stolen, money is stolen, just trying to find their loved one's body, just to bring it back and have a burial. And that's what this individual promised with that $25,000. And then he goes and brings them to a particular place and then admits to lying. And that's the basis of this fraud charge and the wire charge. But what's extraordinary about it, Michael, is that Peru does not have to release him whatsoever. Because of the sentence he's serving right now, and it's a homicide case, they do not have to agree. And it's only because Peru has agreed that this is even gonna happen. Because if they objected and said, no, we want our flesh first, because they have their own victim, and that's a more serious crime than the fraud in the wire that is being charged here in the US. They had every right to hold him there, but they have agreed to waive. And now I think he's going to fight it. But with the government of Peru behind it, it's essentially going to happen. And he's going to come over and have to face the charges here.
Yeah, it's a done deal. I mean, I'm sure the negotiations that went on at a high level between the governments figured all that out. And he may fight it, but I promise you, he'll end up here in the United States to face these charges. Now, Mom, as I mentioned, Beth Holloway, she was at the forefront of this case. Now, she did release a statement once all this came about, and here's what she said. She said she would be 36 years old now. It's been a very long and painful journey, but the persistence of many is going to pay off. Together, we are finally getting justice for Natalee. And that goes to your point, Rich, earlier about, all the people who have worked doggedly since 2005, never letting go, in large part because of the efforts of Beth and family members, the Holloway family, who have continued to keep this thing front and center. But again, when you talk about a measure of justice, even though this isn't for a murder charge, the idea that this guy, first of all, the idea that this guy would even pull something like this tells you what kind of guy he is. That he would tell the family who's looking for the girl. He claims he didn't do it. He said, I'll lead you there for $25,000, then not do it. Tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, well, two things, Michael. One, I was listening to you read the statement from the mother, and I realized that in crediting all the investigators and the people who have worked on the extradition, I left out the family. And the family has had to wait. They had an 18-year-old daughter disappear, and they've had to wait another 18 years. And they have been dogged in pursuing this, as you said, and they should be credited. And we hope that they can get something out of it. And to your other point, second, yes, he is not apparently being charged with murder here, but it looks like he was connected somehow. And, you know, sometimes you have to take what you can get. And if the only evidence you have is fraud and theft, then that's what you prosecute for, because you know, you have to go forward with what you're able to prove.
Yeah, and justice has many faces. And after 18 years, as Beth Holloway said, it's a measure of justice for their daughter, who would have been 36. Just think about that. It's just crazy. All right, guys, stand by. It's time for a break.